Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is February the 10th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I will say I didn't really get enough sleep. Had a very active night. A lot of podcasting, which y'all know I love. So that's a labor of love. I'm excited, happy about that. Happy to have that content out. Hopefully, checked out the previous episode. Got the team up with Late Start. It was amazing. Love that. Always love getting to hang out with the boys, getting some work in, talking that good shit. But yeah, I just really didn't sleep much, and I've so far only had a handful of M&Ms, kind of perk up a little bit. But I'm good. I'm good. I feel good. I just probably need like a nap or something, little sleep. But let's see here. Really, that's about it on the food quarter. There's nothing else to really report. I'm gonna hold out on the drinking and just do a little bit more of a California startup, if you will. All right. Our first story comes from the Associated Press. Israeli strikes kill 44 Palestinians in Rafah after Netanyahu says ground invasion is coming there. Israeli airstrikes killed at least 44 people, or 44 Palestinians, including more than a dozen children, in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Excuse me. On Saturday, hours after Israel's prime minister said he had asked the military to plan for the evacuation of hundreds of thousands of people there ahead of the ground invasion. Um, Though he did not provide details or a timeline, the announcement set off panic and warnings from diplomats. More than half of Gaza's 2.3 million people are packed into Rafah after following Israeli evacuation orders that now cover 2/3 of the territory. It is not clear where they could run next. I'm going to add that even if you do run it doesn't mean that you're going to wind up in any kind of safety because it's just there's no escaping it. There's either some kind of airstrike or there's already some kind of ground force already there or marching forward towards you or trying to surround you, it seems. So, sadly, the news just, definitely seems to get worse. I know this is something that's upping tensions between Egypt and Israel just because, Rafah is really, like a sandwich point there and they've already had to like deal with people fleeing into Egypt and that's, a concern for Egypt. That's not something they want. Um, so it's a situation that's raising all kinds of tensions. I will say, as an American, someone in the West, it's frustrating to see us go, oh yeah, we're so upset, we're so bummed out about what Israel's doing. They should stop it. They should think about civilian lives. But we're not. I don't see us issuing any kind of sanctions. We're not saying anything real. We're not doing anything kind of real. We're not intervening in any kind of way. In fact, we're still, once again, tripping over ourselves onto how we can work out all our fucking things so that we can get more aid to them. So, um, I do feel like this is relevant. Obviously, not just the ground invasion, but even just the idea. Because like I initially, I think I heard the number might have been in the 30s, and then it's just already rising. I know we've also hit over 28,000 in terms of just the overall death toll. So obviously, it's always unfortunate. It's always sad, to cover this, but it's so important, and it's never going to stop being important to cover this conflict, to cover the atrocities that are getting done here. Um, you know, all in the name of what they're claiming. Israel's claiming self defense. I don't get it at this point. All the while, we're still nowhere with a ceasefire because at the end of the day, Israel doesn't want to have a ceasefire. They want anything but that. They want the hostages back, but they don't want to do that. They definitely don't want to do any kind of exchanging of their prisoners either. So, Um, so yeah, we'll call it covered for the day on that. I'm sure there will be sadly more in the future, and but you know, all we can do is cover it, no? All right, let's move on to some other shit from the Associated Press. The Supreme Court seems poised to reject efforts to kick Trump off the ballot over the Capitol riot. Supreme Court seems poised to reject attempts to kick former President Donald Trump off the 2024 ballot, with the conservative and liberal justices in apparent agreement in a case that puts them at the heart of a presidential election. Excuse me. A definitive ruling for Trump, the leading Republican candidate for president, would largely end efforts in Colorado, Maine, and elsewhere to prevent his name from appearing on the ballot. I kind of just want to go into riff mode if you'd allow me. This is big news in the sense of like, okay, the Supreme Court decided to hear this. They're hearing it. I listened to this shit the other night, at least just kind of hearing a bit of it. I wouldn't say like, oh, it was surprising, but like, Ketanji Brown Jackson and Kagan kind of had a little bit more takes that seemed to be like, oh no, we're hearing you out. We want to actually maybe kind of come to a common ground understanding of what this really is. And really it kind of stems from like some Civil War law that, Colorado kind of looped up to kind of work for the situation, saying like, hey, Trump tried to do an insurrection. He's an insurrectionist. Like, this applies to him. Like, it doesn't matter that he was a president. Like, in fact, it does, like, that's the reason he had like this office position. He wasn't immune or anything like that, which is another thing that's going to be potentially heard by the Supreme Court. But that's another reason why I just didn't want to cover it. This is all kind of getting, processed now, and this is actually probably going to get, like, a verdict's going to get dropped on this subject probably sooner than later, at least sooner than most of the cases. So, I don't know. It looks like they're going to side with Trump on this one, and he's going to be allowed to be on the ballot. I've kind of had my, little opinions on this before, where I was like, yeah, I kind of get that this is a little bit of finessing of the law, but I like that you at least see like a liberal side, Colorado voters or whatever coming out, trying to, tell their, their constituents, whatever, hey, we want this to happen. And, they moved and made it happen, and Maine kind of followed suit. So, like I said, you see people on the right do this a lot, with the conservative, parties, groups, politicians. So, to me, I wasn't mad about it. I was like, hey, it's a neat little trick. Let's see what happens. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to really go anywhere. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I figured I'd keep you posted, and technically that's a little bit of a 2-for-1 there, since we're talking about his whole immunity thing that already got shot down, and he was like, okay, well, it looks like he wants to try to get that appealed all the way up, and probably the Supreme Court will hear it. But we'll see, and we'll see what they say about it. I don't know. You can never know with the Supreme Court, really. I'm not too surprised about this. This didn't blow my wig back or anything, but it was interesting, at least. Interesting enough that I was like, oh, well, like, I gotta talk about it. All right, let's move on to some other news. I know I'm kind of zigzagging here. From Al Jazeera, at least 5 killed in protest over mosque demolition in North Indian town. At least 5 people have been killed and dozens others injured during a protest sparked by the demolition of a mosque and a religious school in India, the latest in a spat of demolitions targeting Muslim structures. Municipal authorities in Haldwani town in the northern state of Uttarakhand bulldozed the buildings on Thursday, saying they had been built without permission. Police said Muslims torched vehicles and threw stones at them, and the protests that followed, prompting them to fire live ammunition and tear gas in response. Yeah, because that's fair. That's balanced. That makes sense. Now, Vandana Singh, the district magistrate of Nainital district, where Haldwani is located, said at a news conference the demolition and its aftermath were not communal and should not be seen as such. She said the protest was linked to a government drive to demolish a property that is neither registered as a religious site nor has it been given any such recognition. Some call the structure a madrasa, she added. But residents said the mosque and the school in Hawani's Bani Pulpura area were nearly 2 decades old and have been unfairly targeted, despite a court hearing on the matter scheduled on February 14th. And I think that kind of lines up with, I feel like, the actions that have kind of, been going on in India, at least from what I've seen, where you have, Hindus in power and they say, hey, we've been a persecuted class for so long, we feel like it's all right to take back what's ours. And, it really seems like they are trying to do it with their minds as a role reversal and, taking over structures, demolishing structures, saying, hey, you guys are going to have to, potentially move out or change how you, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I do feel like the Muslim community is definitely being oppressed. That's kind of really what I'm trying to get at here. And I feel like it is with Narendra Modi, the prime minister, he just is more or less greenlighting it. He kind of just turns a blind eye to what's going on because it appeals to his populism push. You know what I mean? So I think this is the kind of stuff that kind of helps keep him in power. And I think it oppresses people. So naturally, that's something that I'm really gravitated to, those kind of stories. And I want to try to do my best to talk about this shit and get it out there at least. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to pull from this. I think, last month, Modi inaugurated a Hindu temple in the northern city of Ayodhya, built on the site of a centuries-old Mughal-era mosque that was destroyed by Hindu zealots in 1992. That was just another, callback to another, story we did recently about India. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next bump, the last bump of the day. Let me go ahead and take my break and then we'll get into it. All right. Our last article comes from Reuters. Senegalese lawmakers vote to postpone presidential election to December 15th. Senegal's parliament on Monday voted to hold a postponed presidential election on December 15th in the face of public outcry that led some opposition lawmakers to blockade proceedings until security forces intervened. The move follows President Macky Sall's unprecedented announcement of a postponement on Saturday that pitched the West African nation into uncharted constitutional waters and threatens to further tarnish its reputation as a bastion of democratic stability in a region swept by coups. Riot police fired tear gas to disperse protests outside Parliament as lawmakers discussed a bill that initially proposed rescheduling the February 25th vote to August 25th and keeping Sall in power until his successor is installed. By the evening, just before the final vote, the bill was amended to propose the even later election date to December 15th, but it was passed by 105 MPs in the 165 seat assembly. Also, let me just kind of scroll a little bit further down here. There was a party that also kind of helped push it along. The opposition Senegalese Democratic Party, or the PDS, whose candidate was barred from running because of the dual nationality issues, supports the delay and proposed the postponement bill in Parliament before Sall's announcement. Now, Sall, he wants the Prime Minister, Amadou Ba, to win. So some people are saying that he's doing this because he wants to either extend his power for a little bit longer, but maybe he'll push it even again to another extension that might get approved. Or he's doing this to, further dissuade people from trying to throw their hat in the ring. I think overall people do not like this. I think the people definitely do not like this. I know outside, other, world leaders, other people are saying like, no, this is icky, this is gross, that's not very democratic, sweetie. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely unfortunate to kind of see this happen. I think the situations that they were trying to chalk up to block people, put them, out of the running, seem really dumb and really like just inflated and fucked up. So yeah, I do kind of lean towards the idea that this is more of a ploy. I get though that why the Senegalese Democratic Party says, "Hey, I mean, we want to get our guy to win. We think our guy has a shot, and this is stopping him. So like, let's get through that legal process and then have a chance." But I don't know. I think it doesn't look great. Doesn't feel good. But I wanted to do an update here and keep you abreast of what's going on in Senegal, and that is it. That's really all I have. So yeah, that is the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Let's see here. You become a newsie. I shout you out at the top of the month. Plug a project if you like. Then free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me on the socials or the podcast on the socials. Hopefully you're subscribed to the YouTube. Always trying to get more subscriptions. Hit the like button. Leave a cool comment. Share it if you like. That would help out a ton. But I mean, overall, just it means the world that you listened. And thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.